107 days, way too many for anybody, but including her.
Right.
But the more they got to know her, the less they liked her. I've said this many times on this show. Other countries don't do this. They don't have years to run. They call an election, and they have an election in a month.
Yeah, and nor the influence of money. We should do that. Right?
That's going to be hard to get rid of. They've tried.
Yep.
But, it's like you don't need 100 days. You need 107 days. You tell people your plan. This is what I am for. This is my thing. You're selling something. You're selling a vacuum cleaner. If I'm selling a vacuum cleaner, I'll tell you why I think it's best. Am I going to tell you every goddamn day for 2 years? Did I tell you about the attachment that gets under the... Yeah, you did. You told me 1,000 times.
Kamala Harris's new book just dropped, and like clockwork, everyone's feasting on her excuses for why she tanked in the elections. Of course, Bill Maher couldn't resist jumping in, and his take was pure fire. He flat out said that 107 days were more than enough time for Kamala to seal a win. But here's the kicker. Maher also exposed some serious untruths buried in her pages. Buckle up. This one's going to sting, and you don't want to miss it.
Crime, people just getting away with it, cashless bail, whatever. I want to see law and order, and I think that would be helpful.
Well, apropos to that, I'll bring up one last subject. Somebody didn't write this, but I want to say it because it's interesting. Some new polling came out, and this is really, I'm speaking to the Democrats especially here, because Trump's numbers are down. They're down with Latinos, they're down with blacks, they're down 15 points with whites. And when whites say, you're not hip anymore, ooh. And yet, in the other poll, on issues, Trump still winning. So this is your big opportunity, Democrats. He's down in the numbers, and you still can't score.
So, Maher kicks things off by flashing the latest polls, showing Trump slipping with voters. But here's the twist on the issues Americans actually care about. Like the economy, the border, and foreign wars, Trump is still dominating. Maher argues that this should be the Democrats' golden opportunity to regroup, recalibrate, and score some real wins. Instead, they're too busy worshiping at the altar of woke politics, chasing culture wars nobody outside their bubble cares about. And just when you think he's done, Maher drops a bombshell that could leave the entire DNC gasping for air.
Who has a better plan? Republicans crushing it on crime, immigration, wars, the economy, even corruption. Democrats win by 2 points on respect for democracy. Now, some of this is just because people are fucking stupid. 2 points on respect for democracy. Democrats win on healthcare, environment, women's rights, respect for democracy. But on those issues, I bet you that are the big ones that they vote on more: crime, immigration, wars, economy, corruption. So that's...
Interestingly, the Democrats aren't even living up to their own name. You'd think that on the issue of democracy, the very principle they claim to champion, the DNC, would be leading by a landslide. But that's not the case. Shockingly, Republicans are closing the gap, and in some polls, even overtaking them on the question of who better represents democratic values. That's not just a red flag, it's a full-blown siren. It suggests that the Democratic Party is losing its grip on its core identity, the very foundation that once energized its base and set it apart. Instead of building trust with voters through consistent principles, the party has become entangled in identity politics, virtue signaling, and endless infighting. The result? Americans no longer see them as the automatic guardians of democracy. And if this trajectory continues, Democrats aren't just facing defeat at the polls, they're staring down the path to political extinction.
The Democratic Party stands for today is opposition to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I just read Kamala Harris's new book, 107
No,
Days.
you didn't.
I did?
No, you didn't.
I'd like to...
I'll say a lot of lies on this show, but I will not accept that.
I thought you might ask me about it. That's why I had to read it. But the point is, it's like, as you probably know, it's like a diary of what happened. But I was looking for, okay, and what's the plan for the future? There wasn't any, and she's just indicative of the party at large.
The DNC seems to have no action plan whatsoever, other than obsessively criticizing and opposing Donald Trump at every turn. even on the pettiest, most irrelevant issues. Beyond the constant attacks, there's no clear strategy, no vision, no unifying message that tells voters why they should trust Democrats with power, and that void becomes even more glaring when you look at Kamala Harris. After losing an election and then writing a book, you'd expect some deep reflection, a sober acknowledgement of mistakes, and a blueprint for how to do better next time. That would have been the mature, strategic move, something that could actually inspire confidence. But instead, the book offered none of that. No roadmap, no action plan, just recycled talking points and self-justification. It's symptomatic of a larger problem within the DNC, a party stuck in denial, living off outrage while offering voters nothing concrete for the future.
One of the reasons she lost.
She's rewriting history in the book, too. She's now against men and women's sports. Like, come on. Like, they tried to dismantle Title IX against women when she was vice president.
Right. I mean, that's just one of many examples.
She could have had 701 days and would have still lost that race.
But you're right, the data says it's cost of living, it's inflation, it's immigration, illegal immigration, all those things. Everything else is up.
Kamala Harris seems to be slowly backing away from the woke politics that helped sink her political career. On the surface, that looks like progress finally. She's learning some lessons. But here's the problem. Instead of owning up to her past mistakes, she's trying to rewrite history. She now wants to present herself as someone who opposes men competing in women's sports, when in reality, she openly supported it while in power. That kind of revisionist spin doesn't fool anyone. If Kamala genuinely wants to rebuild credibility, she needs to do something far more difficult. Come clean. Admit she was wrong, acknowledge how far out of touch she drifted, and break ties with the radical woke crowd once and for all. Only then can she begin her journey back to common sense. Otherwise, this new rebrand will look like nothing more than political survival in disguise.
Law and order crime.
107 days, way too many for anybody, but including her.
Right.
But the more they got to know her, the less they liked her. I've said this many times on this show. Other countries don't do this. They don't have years to run. They call an election, and they have an election in a month.
Yeah, and nor the influence of money. We should do that. Right?
Right from the start, Maher wastes no time tearing into Kamala Harris's new book. To him, it reads less like reflection and more like a laundry list of excuses. At the center of her defense is the infamous 1-7. Days, the window of time, she claims, was far too short to deliver her message and connect with the grassroots. According to Kamala, this compressed timeline doomed her campaign from the very beginning, but Maher isn't buying it for a second. He calls that reasoning a fallacy, pointing out that Americans didn't reject her because of the calendar. They rejected her because they finally got a clear look at who she really was, after spending years comfortably in the shadow of the vice presidency. Kamala had her moment in the spotlight, and voters weren't impressed. It wasn't about time. It was about trust, likability, and authenticity. And she simply didn't have it.
Hard to get rid of, they've tried. But, no, it's like you don't need 100 days. You need 107 days. You tell people your plan. This is what I am for. This is my thing. You're selling something. You're selling a vacuum cleaner. If I'm selling a vacuum cleaner, I'll tell you why I think it's best. Am I going to tell you every goddamn day for 2 years? Did I tell you about the attachment that gets under the... Yeah, you did. You told me 1,000 times. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Exactly my thoughts. All Kamala Harris really needed to do was spell out how she planned to solve the problems Americans face every single day. That's it. Lay out concrete solutions, show a vision, and let voters judge her based on the strength and validity of those ideas. But instead, she gave us nothing. She even had a golden opportunity to separate herself from Joe Biden, to outline what she would do differently if entrusted with the presidency. That could have been her moment to demonstrate leadership and independence. Yet again, she offered no answers, no roadmap, no bold agenda. It's as if she expected voters to simply hand her power without hearing a single plan. This lack of clarity exposes the core problem. Kamala Harris doesn't have a clear message, a distinct identity, or credible solutions. And without those, no amount of campaigning can rescue her.
Elected vice president, you're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No, that's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because
Oh, it is
he
what
is
she
gay.
said.
My
Exactly.
point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States, against someone
do it, Kamala.
like Donald Trump, who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk.
And that right there is exactly what Bill Maher is hammering on, the blatant untruth from Clay Harris. In her own book, she explicitly wrote that she didn't pick Pete Buttigieg as her running mate because he was gay. Those are her words in black and white. Yet, when Rachel Maddow pressed her to explain the statement, Kamala backtracked, claiming that's not what she meant. Or worse, that's not even what she wrote. That kind of contradiction is political quicksand. If she can't stand by her own words, printed for the entire world to see, how can Americans possibly trust her to stand firm on matters of policy or leadership? Maher's point is simple but devastating. It's not just about the bad decisions of her campaign, it's about credibility. And Kamala Harris is hemorrhaging it with every excuse, every contradiction, and every attempt to rewrite her own history.
She said about New York mayoral hopeful and radical hard leftist Zoran Mamdani.
What do you think of him and his candidacy? And what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported.
Do you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure.
Look, if you thought Kamala had acquired some wisdom, some class and perspective in the months since she was resoundingly beaten by President Trump, well, you'd be disappointed. All she revealed overnight is that she's a frightful bitch.
I couldn't agree more, and that's exactly why Kamala Harris went down in flames during the 2024 elections. At the heart of her failure lies a simple truth. Kamala can't stand up for anything. She doesn't take bold stances. She doesn't commit to principles. And she rarely offers a clear direction. Just listen to her response on Zoran. Mani's candidacy in New York, it's painfully obvious she doesn't actually endorse him for his policies or vision. Instead, she supports him for one shallow reason, because he's a Democrat. That's it. No policy merit, no strategic benefit, no real conviction. And that right there is the problem. If the Democratic Party continues to rally around candidates out of blind loyalty instead of sound ideas, it's no wonder they keep bleeding credibility. Kamala embodies that weakness, and voters rejected it loud and clear in 2024.
For some reason, now would be the time, instead of when she was actually running for president, to say all the ways in which she disagreed with Joe Biden or all the bad things she thought about the Biden team. Great. Okay. I'm here for it, sister. Go. I believe every word, by the way. So it's really been super fun to watch the circular firing squad amongst the Dems. Usually they're a little better about holding their discipline on that. It's usually the Republicans who do all the infighting. So I'm thrilled to see it, and I really can't wait until her next appearance. I can't wait to hear what she has to say next.
Y'all remember when Kamala Harris was running for the White House and boldly declared that she wouldn't change or improve a single thing Joe Biden had done? That was her entire message, a blank check of loyalty to Biden, no questions asked. Fast forward to today, and suddenly the tune has changed. Now that she's out from under Biden's shadow and no longer tethered to the vice presidency, Harris is listing off all the things that went wrong during his administration inflation. Immigration, foreign policy blunders, you name it. She's pointing at it. The irony. These were the very issues she stayed silent on when she actually had the platform and responsibility to make a difference. Instead of speaking truth to power when it mattered, she played it safe. Now, after the damage is done, she's finally finding her voice. But to many Americans, it's too little too late. At the end of the day, Kamala Harris's book and her public statements only reinforce why she lost in 2024 and why her political future looks shaky. From rewriting history and dodging accountability to hiding behind Biden's shadow and clinging to woke politics, she's failed to present a clear vision or honest leadership. Bill Maher exposed the untruths, and voters have already seen through the excuses. If Kamala wants a comeback, it won't be through spin or party loyalty. It'll require brutal honesty, real solutions, and the courage to break with the failed strategies that doomed her once before. And on that note, we draw the curtains on today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to Pixel Fork for more deep dives like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.